Shalom, shalom, Akio. First and foremost, I want to give all praise and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well. Peace and blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in this gospel broadly from the standard of Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever they may be. This is just a quick lesson through the spirit, little dream I had, little testimony, little vision, whatever you want to call it. Spirit had me to put it on wax before I forget the majority of it, but I don't think I would really forget it because, shit, I had a dream. I was in a fucking FEMA camp, man, and that shit was wild, to say the least. And shit, to show you we in them times for real. Crazy part, it felt real. Like it's like you know the difference between a dream and like a vision. When you in a vision, it's literally like it plays out like a movie. Versus dreams are kind of all over the place, and this one wasn't really like that because it started off. It was me and the brothers in my camp, man, and we was in Chicago, and we were just we were just out there just visiting. We was visiting my family, and for whatever reason I was pissed off because we stayed with my mother like in the old apartment I grew up in, and it was my mother and my sister there, and they charged us to stay there like it was an Airbnb, and I'm like, the fuck are you charging us for this shit for? I'm like, dude, this is a small ass 3-bedroom apartment, like, and it wasn't cheap. So all of a sudden, it was like 6 o'clock. We woke up, and I woke up the brother Uriah. I'm like, hey man, we gotta get up. And he like, what's up? I'm like, man, cause they charging us for this B&B. My sister charging us for this shit. The crazy part about it, they was in the house sleep with us. Basically charging us to visit. So all of a sudden we get up, we rushed up, and then, the brother like, yeah, let's hurry up and go. And then I'm trying to go in there and talk to my mom, but she worked late overnight and shit, so she sleep. And then I was thinking like, okay, it's 6 o'clock, ain't no food up. And I remember coming up as a kid, I didn't really eat breakfast like that because I had a mother that didn't really cook shit like that. She just always in her fucking emotions and shit like that. Anyway, that's just another story, but she was always like in a dark spirit, a dark rut, and on top of that, she worked overnight, so that was pretty dead anyway. So it was her and my sister, and it was me and the other brothers in my camp, and we was all asleep in the room, and then we woke up like around 6 o'clock. So I don't know, man, it was kind of weird because I'm trying to think. I remember us leaving, and all of a sudden we get back to Kansas City, and somebody came up to me and like come with us. So I can't recall. I don't know if they was like the cops. It was somebody, man. And then all of a sudden, the dream switched. So we back in Missouri. So all of a sudden, I'm in this van, and I wake up, and all of a sudden I wake up, and I'm in like fucking prison. Like in this, it's kind of like you brothers ever seen like those meat packing plants, like those old plants that they cut meat. It was like a butcher, like a old butcher shop. Like, they doing shit here, they making meat here, they cutting rugs here. It was just like this old factory where they just send and condemn to work. So all of a sudden, I'm being escorted to this cell, and I look, and I had on like this orange jumpsuit, right? And and from what I can remember, they was asking my name and shit like that. And I'm like, well, I go by such and such. So I'm walking, and they're giving me a tour of this place. Now, the thing of it is, you had access to outside. Like, it was like you had access to outside, but it was like barbed wire fence everywhere. So it's like you can go outside, but you couldn't escape this motherfucker. And it wasn't nothing but Jakes and guards everywhere. And basically, they just had Jake working. Jake just condemned and working. Place was real dark and dirty. It was like oil on the floor everywhere. It was just dark. You hear machinery. You got like butcher shops and shit. And then all of a sudden, I walked past this station, and it looked like it was like a bunch of guillotines and a bunch of sharp weapons. But I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck they gonna do with that? So as the guard is walking me past this shit, and I'm looking around, it's just dark. But you can see outside, and you notice how, like, when you outside, right, Like if you brothers ever know, like what it look like when it's getting ready to rain, when it's kind of humid, like that Georgia air. It's kind of like, how can I explain it? It was kind of like an overcast. It wasn't necessarily sunny, but the air was thick and it was kind of cloudy, but you could see the sun through the clouds like it was getting ready to rain, like around sunset. So they taking me and they showing me around this facility, and, they're cutting meat. They're just making all type of shit, metals and guillotines and every fucking where. So the troop got me and shit. So I'm walking through this place and I'm looking around. And now at this point, I'm kind of quiet because I'm like, okay. I'm trying to process this shit. I'm like, okay. Clearly, I'm in the fucking FEMA camp. So I just disappeared. Brothers didn't know none of that. I didn't have my possessions. I didn't have my phone. I woke up in an orange jumpsuit. So all of a sudden, they take me to this cell. Bam. They like, stay here and don't move. But the door was still open. So I go to this cell and shit. The guards, I guess they processed me, whatever. So they walked off and did what they did. So I went in the cell and the door was wide open. People were walking through the halls, just like this big ass factory and shit. And I was like, okay, clearly I'm in a FEMA camp. I'm in prison, but people are working. So I'm sitting on this bench and I'm pacing. Well, I get up and I'm pacing back and forth and I'm trying to think like, damn, the brothers, everything in my mind, I'm thinking about everything. All the emotions is coming. I'm like, okay, nobody knows where I'm at clearly. Because in my mindset, I'm still in Kansas City, Missouri. I'm like, okay, well, I assume I'm still in KC, because I'm like, it seems like I've seen this place before, but I couldn't recall it in my mind. So I get up. So I got this purple jumpsuit on and I look at my right wrist and I have like this stamp. It's like a stamp. Okay, ain't no goddamn chip, all right? Don't get all paranoid. But it's like, how like when you go in and out of a place, they process you. Like if you go out of like a house or something or like an event, they put a stamp on your wrist and like with numbers and shit on there to tell you where you're gonna go. So I had like a black marker writing on me, and it had like a lot of numbers on there. I guess it was supposed to be the cell I was supposed to be in. It was like a processing number. So all of a sudden I get up and I start walking through this fucking jail, whatever the hell it was, like this big ass factory, and I just see Jake in slavery, man. Jake carrying shit, Jake in there screaming, Jake fighting. Jake is just in there just looking condemned. They beat down. They dirty. They got oil and shit on their face from working so hard. It was basically like a work camp, man. And they just work your ass to death. You got these just fucking guards in there, man. They're just horrible, So I'm walking and ain't nobody really paying attention to me, but I ran across this one dude and I started talking to him and shit, man. And then he like, what's up, bro? I'm like, man, where the fuck am I at? He like, man, bro. I'm like, he didn't really tell me, but he said, look around, where you think you at? And I said, oh shit, this is a FEMA camp, huh? He looked at me and said, yeah, pretty much, work camp, And it was just, niggas were just condemned. I mean, they're like, how like in prison, how when they work you back in the days and y'all carrying big shit, y'all working together. It was like a big ass fucking prison house or some shit. But you got access to outside. So we was talking, man. He like, where you from? I'm like, well, I'm from Chicago, bro. But I'm like, I lived in Kansas City. He said, well, you ain't in Kansas City. I said, huh? He said, nigga, you in Georgia. I'm like, Georgia? I'm like, the fuck? I was like, I was just in Chicago. Then I went back to KC. He said, nigga, you in Georgia right now. And I said, oh, shit. So in my mindset, brothers didn't even know where I was at. I ain't had no phone. I didn't have shit. I'm just there. So he taking me around this place. And then, the guards come up. They like, man, you get your ass to work. Just real constant. So yeah, so we walking in the guards like, man, y'all gotta get your ass to work, man. But the thing of it is, like, I wasn't really assigned to anything. I was just there. You know what I'm saying? So as I came in, they took me to the cell and they just kind of like let me free roam and they was like, man, just go. They didn't really say nothing. So I really wasn't the focus of attention. But as I went to the cell, like I mentioned in the last part, I was kind of pacing back around until I was able to recollect my thoughts. So I get up and then I walk outside, outside of the cell. And like I said, it was like this big, it was just dark. And it was dark, but you could still see. It's kind of like a gloom, like in the background here. And like I said, the guards, they had like on black and shit. It was kind of like COs, but it was so much going on. Like it was so much commotion. People working pipe and carrying pipes here. They carrying shit here. I mean, it was just like a big work camp or something, man. And it was just dark. The conditions were horrible. Leaky pipes. It was just oil everywhere. It was like a big ass mechanic factory or something. But it was dark up in there. But like I said, you still had access to outside. So as I was walking with this Jake, he was talking to me, and like I mentioned, he said, "Well, you in Georgia, bro." So we was walking through this camp, and Jake's in there kind of getting into it. I'm hearing Jake scream, they're crying. They like, "Man, give me the fuck out of here, give me the fuck out of here." And then one Jake came up to me, and I was like, "The fuck you do to get up in here, man?" And he didn't really say anything. And I was like, "What you do, bro?" He was like, "I didn't really do shit." And then it recollect on me, because I'm like, I ain't even do shit. They just came and grabbed my ass up, and you know what I'm saying? I woke up and I was in FEMA camp, I didn't have no phone. I didn't have no property, you know what I'm saying? And first thing I'm thinking, I'm like, I got to get to my property. I got to get to my phone. I got to see the brother. I got to let the brothers know what's up, But I'm assuming nobody really knew where I was at, because like I mentioned, I wasn't in Kansas City no more, because we had just came back from Chicago. Then we was here. Then all of a sudden, I'm in Georgia somewhere, in the middle of nowhere, in the fucking prison. So me and this Jake, we walking, and he kind of giving me the rundown on things. And, I wasn't really assigned to any task. You know what I'm saying? I just had like this marker writing on my hand, in which to tell me where I was supposed to be as far as like cell, but I couldn't really read it. So all of a sudden we walking outside, because there's levels to it too, because you actually got people that's in regular clothing as well. And it was like they was serving food or something, and they was actually delegating what prisoners supposed to be. And those were women, black women at that. So I'm assuming that they must have worked their way up, or they must have somehow, some way, they must got a job there, because people was literally working in this place, So I go outside, and me and the Jake talking, and I'm like, "But how the hell you get up out of this place, man?" And he looked at me and said, "You don't get out of here." He said, "You don't get out of here." So I made up in my mind. I'm like, "Oh shit, this is basically where I'm supposed to die at, or I'm gonna get delivered." So the whole time I'm trying to get back to my cell, because I'm trying to pray to the Lord at this point. I'm like, "Man, I need to go talk to Yahweh Shai," but I kept being I wouldn't say I was distracted, but they was, walking me and giving me a tour of this place and kind of showing me what was up. And we outside, and we walking like through this yard. And, I'm seeing people with prisoners. They're transporting prisoners. They're escorting people here. They're escorting people there, And it was kind of like a overcast outside, like when it's getting ready to rain with the clouds and stuff, but you can still see the sun in the clouds. And it was a little, just like it was probably midsummer or some shit. I don't know. But all of a sudden, so I'm walking and I'm talking to this Jake, and somebody called my name, because he asked me, he said, "What's your name?" I'm like, "I go by such and such. This is what they call me." And then all of a sudden, some nigga woman, she yelled my name out, and then I turned around and looked at her. Then I kind of walked up to her, and she called my name, and then she didn't really say anything, so she just took who she had, and she kind of walked down to the other side of the fence. So all of a sudden, me and him, we turned back around. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I got to go back to my cell. I got to figure this shit out. So we come back towards the facility, and there was a guard there, a nigga woman, like a butch, and then she's like, "Fuck y'all going?" I'm like, I'm going back in here. She's like, "Well, get back in your fucking cell. Ain't nobody tell you to come out." And I kind of looked at her like, fuck she talking to, but spirit like, chill. So all of a sudden, because, them COs and them guards, they just be dickheads because they can, They not going to be nothing, because in their mindset, we the bad guy, we the enemy, and we don't have to show you no type of respect. And that's just what it is when you go in them places. So all of a sudden, we go through the doors, like the big metal doors, and I turned to the side, and I was getting ready to curse her out. Then I see this Jake kind of like in his white polo, but I didn't get a good look at his face. And as I was getting ready to curse her out, the spirit said, "Don't do that, because, he works and he may report it. Last thing you need to do is make your life even more miserable in this place." But it was just like, it was very dehumanizing, man. So I was walking back towards the cell, or the room I was supposed to be in, because I'm trying to stay out the way too, because clearly I'm not supposed to be free roaming around this place. So I go back in there, and all of a sudden the spirit woke me up. And it was weird, because I'm just like, damn, that felt like a real, it didn't really feel like a dream. It felt real. Like I said, I woke up, I was in a whole different place. I'm saying? I'm in an orange jumpsuit, you know what I'm saying? I got this marker written on me, with some shit on there. I'm just like, man, this is wild. And I've made in my mind, I'm like, this is a FEMA camp. So to say this, we in them times, man, when they going to start to make certain moves and cause certain policies to come effect to try to arrest us, man. Because like I said, this is just the nature of the truth, man. Okay, now the crazy part about it is I don't remember how they rolled on me. I was with brothers, and all of a sudden, I was in this van, and then I woke up in the fucking FEMA camp. You know, and like I said, I didn't have no property. I didn't have nothing. My phone, all my property was pretty much gone. Family didn't know where I was at. Brothers didn't know where I was at. Nobody knew where I was at. I was just disappeared off the map. And to tell you this, they have a lot of black ops sites too in Babylon, especially like in these cities. I remember in Chicago a while ago, it was this place, they made a big deal out of it. They put it on the news because, see, in Chicago, depending on what crime you do, they may send you to like a lockup, or 9 times out of 10, if you're a Jake, they're going to put you in a county. Okay, I remember back in the day, I went in that bitch. I think I went in there one time. And the processing of that is just, it's like, okay, I think they came and arrested. I got arrested because I got arrested over a weekend over some dumb shit. I was going to see a bride, man, and I got arrested. I didn't realize I had like a little bullshit ass warrant, nothing too big, but the process, it was a 2-week process, you know. So all of a sudden, I was going to see this little bride, kind of fresh off work, you know, and then all of a sudden they rolled on me, and then it was a holiday weekend, and then all of a sudden I go to lockup in this particular town called Dalton. You know, so I was in there for like the weekend and shit because it was a holiday. I was like, fuck, I can't get up out of here. So Monday they transport me to the county, because usually in those predicaments, they have what they call a petty wagon, and they go around to different precincts to pick up these niggas, man. And I mean, we in back of this box truck, and I mean, there's all types of shit. Niggas in there gang banging it. And when I was in there, it was like, wow. The whole time, I'm just like, this is some bullshit, you know? So anyway, they take me down to the county. I get down to the county that morning, probably like 8 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get in the cell till like 4 o'clock that next morning. That's how long the process was. We going from bullpen to bullpen to bullpen. You know what I'm saying? Just for them to let me the fuck out the next morning, you know what I'm saying? So to say that, like, it was just one of those experiences, and I'm kind of trying to recollect my thoughts, because it's just a fucked up predicament, you know what I'm saying? But they didn't in the dream, they didn't like roll on me. It wasn't like no kicking in my door, none. I was, like I said, I was with brothers, and then I don't know if somebody came up to me and say, come with me. All of a sudden I was in this van, and then I woke up in a fucking FEMA camp. They was taking me inside this big ass work camp, man. I was like, oh shit, here we go. You know what I'm saying? So to say this, it's we coming into them times, man. And Salakia, this is all over the place because I just woke up and I'm trying to remember it detail by detail, because there was a lot that went down. But, you know, it was just so much that went down in a short amount of time. But it didn't feel like a dream. It felt real. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, when the Lord give you visions, it seems like it's just like a real ordeal, you know? So for you brothers out there and you sisters, hey, this is going to be the fate of some of us, man. Okay? It will separate you from your families, your children, you know, brothers. It may just get you and come and get you overnight. You just never know. And nobody, you know, I just end up disappearing. So you have to really put that into thought, because this is the reality of what we involved in. And Yahweh Shai told us, man. Okay? Shit, I was in an orange jumpsuit. I looked down, I was in a fucking orange jumpsuit. And what you're seeing here is these are AI generated, of course. But I feel like this it does it justice, because this is basically what we teach about. You know? Like the scriptures say, be ye faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So when you look here, I don't think I got the one when they put his head in a guillotine.
Shalom,
just like this. Now I didn't
first
get
and
the
foremost,
guillotine.
I want to give all praise.
Woke me up, but oh shit, Shalakia. I didn't get the guillotine because the spirit woke me up. But even then, when I went in there, I saw like these sharp weapons, and like they, you know, you get out of line, they mutilate you. You know, like I said, I heard screams in there. I heard Jake crying out of being, you know, despair. You know, Jake was just condemned. Everybody in there was pretty much condemned to work into life. It wasn't no outdate, and they didn't come and tell you anything. You were just in this place just against your will. So just imagine what they're gonna try to do to us. But anyway, I got a couple of precepts here. This is the book of what is this? Psalms 102 and 20. And it reads here, to hear the groaning of the prisoners and to lose. Matter of fact, let's start, let's just read up, let's go up. Yeah, let's start here. Verses 20, it says, to hear the groaning of the prisoners, to lose those that are appointed unto death, to declare the name of the Lord in Zion and his praise in Jerusalem. It says, and when we are the people are gathered together in the kingdoms to serve the Lord, okay? It says, he weakened my strength and the way he shortened my days. And I said, oh, my power, take me not away in the midst of my days, the years and throughout all generations, man. What the point I wanted to make was the groanings of the prisoners, because Jacob was in there groaning, you know. I mean, Jacob was in there just like, they just looked like they ain't had no hope. Esau just worked in the death. I mean, they picking up 300-400 pounds shit. They got to work together. You know, niggas in there fighting all types of shit. They fighting with guards, you know. And once you get into it with a guard, I'm pretty sure they take you to a different level and put you in an even worse situation. And if you're untamable, they'll put you to death. And that's just what I got from it. It just feel real dark and eerie. You know, it wasn't a place that anybody would want to be. But I woke up in the motherfucker. So the spirit like, look, this can be the reality of brothers, man. And the scriptures say that's what can be. So, you know, don't be surprised if, you know, some brothers have to go through this shit. Even myself, shit, hey. The way we teach, shit, they come for our ass. So, but you know what, man? It don't matter because we got Yahweh Shemi Shai. So don't look at it as a fearful thing, because I'm not gonna lie. At first I was a little aggravated. I was a little nervous, but I wasn't like afraid. I was more curious. And when you're in a predicament like that, your mindset is like, okay, what's next? You're trying to make sense of it. But I wasn't like fearful or anything like that. But I was kind of emotional, not crying, but I was like in an emotional, vulnerable state, because I'm like, I woke up, I'm like, oh shit, like I don't know these people I'm around, and this place doesn't look too friendly to the likings of people like me. So I was like, oh shit. And it really, and the most hurtful part about it is because the brothers, there was no way for me to get in contact with them. And I was like, damn, the brothers need to know. I don't need them worrying. I was more worried about them than myself, and just everybody, you know, just people in your circle, you kind of worry about them. And I was like, shit, I'm like, I'm kind of worried about the brothers, man. I don't want them to panic and thinking, damn, what happened to Ma? Like, damn, you know. And that was really the unsettling part about it, you know. In the back of my mind, I'm like, as long as they can kind of know that I'm cool, and then I'm just, you know, they grab me up, you know what I'm saying? At least they can kind of rest knowing that they know the fate, you know, versus them not knowing, you know, because the worst thing about any situation is being in the unknown. And that's pretty much where the uneasiness in my spirit came from, because they didn't know, you know. Like I said, we were just in a fucking apartment, Airbnb, that we was getting charged an arm and leg for from family. I'm just like, this is some bullshit, man. You know, so all of a sudden, I'm separated from them. And that's what it was. But as far as I'm concerned, they could have got grabbed up too, but the setting wasn't on them. I just assume I'm the one that got grabbed up, but they could have been grabbed up too. But 9 times out of 10, they wouldn't go send us to the same facility. And the crazy part about it is that I'm walking through the facility and I'm seeing people that I'm thinking look like, brother, you know, people look at you kind of and they're smiling at you type shit. And I'm thinking, I'm like, damn, at least I can see for one time I thought I saw Yaki in there. I was like, damn, I go Yak. But then I walked up, I'm like, fuck, that ain't Yak. But I was hoping, I'm like, damn, at least, you know, let me see one brother in this motherfucker. That'll kind of help my spirit a little bit. But that wasn't the case. So we got to face our trials on our own, bro, because the Lord said, hey, we got to walk through straits, man, like it tells us in Second Esdras. You know, if you can't suffer the straits, then how you going to walk into the broad? So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, this is basically either I'm going to get delivered out of this motherfucker, either by angel, or they're going to cut my head off, either or. It is going to end either or. So I kind of made my mind up that I wasn't getting out of there without some type of intervention, because, dude, like, you don't get out of here. And I was like, so all these people, and there's no out date. He said, ain't no fucking out. What this place look like to you? This ain't no typical jail, nigga. This is a fucking FEMA camp. So I was like, oh, shit, well, let the fun begin, right? Hold up. Let me look this up real quick. Psalms 146 and 7. It says, let's start at verse 7. It says, which executed judgment for the oppressed. And Jake was oppressed in there. Okay, like I said, it was just like they work you to death. You know, it wasn't so much they was beating the hell out of it. I'm pretty sure they were, but it wasn't. It was more like, okay, we got to get shit done. You know how like when back in the day they sent Jake to them prison yards and you in there you building motors. It was just one of them real dark and gritty work camps until you expire basically. And that's worse than anything because in a place like that, you just want them to expire you versus you working, your back can't give out. And I mean, it was some hard manual work, brothers. I mean, this was worse than working on the damn railroad. If you brothers ever had those real strenuous manual labor jobs, those ain't nothing to fuck around with, man. If you ain't used to that kind of work, and this was that kind of work. You know, here buzz saws going off, just all types of shit. You know, it was a real grunt facility, like real grunt, like a real doggy dog type facility, man. You know, it wasn't your typical prison, I'll tell you that. And it says here, which executed judgment for the oppressed, which giveth food to the hungry, the Lord loosened the prisoners, man. All right. And this is talking about Israel, us waking up as a people, we even then in prison, because prison is a form of oppression. So, like I mentioned, there's going to be some brother's fate, you know, to go into these FEMA camps, because that's exactly what it was. It smelled like a FEMA camp. You know, but I decided to speak on it right away because, you know, I would have forgot it. Like, it was much more that happened in it, but I can only recall so much of it because it was like so much that went down in a short amount of time. You know, like I said, this Jake was pretty much, he came up and he was talking to me and he was kind of giving me the rundown and he was like, shit, Dorothy, your ass ain't in Kansas no more, nigga. He said, your ass is in Georgia somewhere now. And I thought Georgia. I said, oh, shit. I'm literally like 600-700 miles away from where I be. And I'm like, damn. I'm like, ain't nobody really gonna find me out in this month. I'm way in fuck down south somewhere. So I was like, oh shit, here we go. You know. Psalms 142:7. Matter of fact, let's start at verses. Let's read the whole chapter. It says, a prayer when he was in the cave. It says, I cried unto Yahweh with my voice, and with my voice unto the Lord did I make my supplication. And that was the whole thing going in my mind. I'm like, damn, Yahweh, I was shy. Baba Kushah, deliver me. And the whole time I just kind of wanted to go back in my little cell, whatever you want to call it. Because at this point, I'm like, I really need to pray. Like, that's the only hope I got at this point. Because I'm like, I ain't gonna really, I know me, I'm end up getting into guards. I'm end up fighting and shit, you know what I'm saying? And in cases like that, you know what I'm saying, I'm pretty subtle because I'm like, okay, I can blend it in. I play it off. I ain't gonna get nobody no shit because I'm not trying to make it harder for myself. So, you know, I know Jake know how to move a little bit. So I'm like, all right, this is how we gonna play this. But I know in my mindset, I'm ready to turn up. But I was chilling, man. I was trying to figure this shit out. I'm like, all right, nobody's around. Nobody's coming to get you, nigga. No commissary, no visits. But the funny part about it is, and I forgot to mention this part, so as we was walking through the rest of the jail, and Salaki, I'm all over the place, but as we was walking through the rest of this facility, it was like different parts of it. Because like I said, you had access to outside. And I don't know if you brothers ever been to like those banquet halls, like when they have those banquets outside and you got the elderly people and you got servants bringing them food. So all of a sudden, we walked through this other part of the building and then it was like this big garage and we went outside and you had like people there. And, you know, they all looked like Jake's, older women, older men. And I guess they was like, I don't know if they was family or something like that for other people, but they was being served and they had like this formal clothing on and, you know, they looked like they was watching some type of celebration or something. I don't know if they was watching people getting fucked up or what, but it looked like they was having like some type of event. And like I said, you know, like on Titanic, you know how you had the grunts at the bottom of the ship, you had servants at the top and they had the best shit. So you had people in their own levels and you had like COs and people that have graduated to top level and lower, you know, high level prisoners, and they was kind of serving these older people. You know, while I'm walking around in orange, they didn't have on orange. They had on like regular clothes and shit. So we go back to the dark parts of the jails and shit like that, where, you know, Jake was actually busting their ass and grinding, and that's what I remember. But we walked past like this banquet hall, and, you know, people were just doing what they do. You know, I forgot to mention that in there. So it was just like a death work camp all in one, but it was levels to it, you know. And I so happens to be at the bottom because, you know, they had just put me in there. So I assumed you had to work your way up. You know, depending on how well you work, then that's where you end up at. But in my mindset, I'm like, I'm in this motherfucker because, you know, I'm teaching the word, but I didn't commit a crime, you know. They didn't catch me in the act of doing anything. They just came and grabbed me up, and I woke up in this place. You know, I didn't have any type of weapons, and I wasn't out committing any type of crimes. But my mindset, I'm like, I'm in here because of what I teach. And that's the only thing that went through my mind. I'm like, because I didn't do shit else, you know. But it says, and I poured out my complaint before him, and I showed him before my trouble. And when my spirit was overwhelmed within me, then thou knewest my path. And in the way, it says, and in the way where I walked, have the privily laid the snare for me, right? The traps. Because, you know, in those places, bro, it's just like either you do or you gonna get got. And it says, then I looked on my right hand and beheld, but there was no man that would know me, right? And I mentioned that as I was walking around in there, I didn't really see anybody I know. You know, I thought that I saw one of the brothers. I thought I saw Yakia, but it wasn't Yak. Okay, it was just some light-skinned nigga with braids smiling at me, you know, but it wasn't Yak. I was like, God damn. I'm like, why that? Back in my mind, I'm like, fuck, why that couldn't be you, Yak? You know, like I need to see one of y'all faces right now. You know, because in those situations, man, you see anybody you know that's of righteous stock, then, you know, that's a little bit of hope. You like notice, like I ain't in this motherfucker by myself. But it says, and I looked on my right hand, and behold, and there was no man that would know me, and refuge failed me, and no man cared for my soul. Because like I said, those guards, man, they was very condescending. At least the black ones, you know, the nigga woman, you know. Other than that, everybody else was kind of busy trying to keep Jake in order and go to work, and they were trying to figure shit out, you know, processing and all this other stuff. But overall, I wasn't really signed to any chore or task. You know, I don't think they was. You know, I assume they would have came back eventually, but, you know, the Lord woke me up. And it says, and I cried unto thee, O Yahweh, and I said, thou art my refuge and my portion in the land of the living. Attend unto my cry, for I am brought very low. And in those places you are brought very low, because it's a very dehumanizing experience, man. Because the only thing you could think in your mind is like, what the fuck did these people do to get in here? You know, what type of capital punishment or offenses? Are they murderers? I'm assuming it was murderers. It was low lifes in there. You had rapists in there. You had all types of people. And you just had people that the government just deemed for extermination. Because even back in the day, we used to go into the whole concept of the blue list, the green list, or the yellow list and the red list. And the red list, you're deemed for extermination. Okay? Because I'm assuming there was chipping stations in there too. And predicated on your level of success in this thing, you get chipped then. And that's the thing too. I think that if you got chipped up, then they move you up, you know. And in my mindset, I'm like, I can't get no goddamn RFID chip. That would make being in this motherfucker for nothing. Like, nah. I'm like, they're gonna have to eliminate me, or the Lord gonna have to get me up out of this place. But either way it go, shit, something gonna happen. But I ain't taking no goddamn RFID chip. And that was my whole mindset, because as I was walking through this place, I'm thinking like, okay, they gonna start chipping people. You know what I'm saying? And in them places, they just gonna come and grab you up and say, hey, this is the process, X, Y, and Z. So you're going to have the Lord with you, man. Because there will be chipping stations in those FEMA camps. And those of us that don't get it, well, you know, we're going to be in a dark hole somewhere. And it says, attend to my cry, for I am brought very low. Deliver me from my persecutors, for they are stronger than I. And like I said, it was more than them than us, than me. Guards in there, you know, and these wasn't your typical guards. They was like some real grunts, like type, you know, those real... just them fucking grunts that don't give a fuck, man. They'll piss on you if they got to. They'll dehumanize you. They'll put a boot upside your damn head. Okay, this is the type of shit we dealing with. This ain't no typical police, man. These are some real spatting ass type motherfuckers, man, that'll break you in half. Okay, there's levels to this shit, man. And it says, bring my soul out of prison, that I may praise thy name, and the righteous shall compass me about. For thou shalt deal bountifully with me. So my whole thing is, okay, I got to get the hell up out of here. You know what I'm saying? But one last precept, Revelation 2, and I'm going to start at verses 10. It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried. And it says, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, I will give thee a crown of life. All right, so that's the whole point of this lesson here. Being faithful unto death, because eventually that's just what it is. And the Lord said, I will give thee a crown of life. All right. So, hey, brothers, we in them times. Stay vigilant. Stay prayed up. All praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. Lord's will you will edify. To the next lesson. Shalom.